established by my father, Mr. Madan B.Lund, in 1952. We were basically into hire purchase financing and banking in very rudimentary terms. When you are in the field of financing, the first thing we try to establish is we try to know the business of the client. And unless you learn and know the business of the client, it is dangerous to be in the business of banking, because you never know if you can get back your money. The second thing is being ethical, charge reasonable rates of interest. If you charge reasonable, you can be sure that your money comes back to you again. So these were some of the and these ethical practices were brought into the various businesses that we entered into. And in the 1950s it was financing, which we still continue to be, and thereafter the business of transport of bulk transport of goods, and then to plantations, and in 1989 into property development, which we have been there for now almost 30 years. We've completed over 35 projects, and 9 of them, out of these 35 projects, 9 of them are in Racecourse and 9 of them are in Adaspuram. And these are the most sought after areas in Coimbatore. We have in this business faced a lot of hurdles. First, establishing a cost, which was very, very difficult because we have no standardization in any products. We have no control over the inflation of these products, and most important, we have no control over the bureaucracy and the government. It is, there is a jargon which is spoken of, our plan approvals take anywhere between 6 months to our file getting lost. So we have to go through all these, navigate between all these things to first start off a building. What I believe in establishing a brand is 4 stages. First is starting or establishing a brand, and then nurturing the brand, and then sustaining the brand, and then the growth of the brand. So we are a very Coimbatore-centric company. We are very much focused only in Coimbatore for the moment, and because it's our belief that in the construction industry, unless you see what you can, or manage what you can see, only then we can expand further into the other cities. And today we have the wherewithal to go into the other cities. Another thing in the formation of our brand was in which sector do we cater to. So we segment our product was product segmentation. So where do we establish our niche? So that we established, we thought for ourselves that we have certain quality standards in terms of material, in terms of design, and keeping these factors, and in terms of quality of construction, keeping these factors, we could not be in the low-cost housing because of the costs entailed in these. If you have to construct in a certain way, there are costs involved. So we could not be in the low-cost segment. We were in the upper mid segment and the premium segment of the market. What are those quality things that we tried to establish? Like, for example, steel. We never bought local steel. I wouldn't say local steel is that inferior, but then we bought only branded Vizag steel. This was our thing. And second thing, methods of construction. There are no government norms on how high a building, a compound should be over the road. It was our internal norm that we should be at least 2.5 feet above road level from the highest point on that road. So this would, for next at least 50 to 100 years, as the government lays roads which are 6 inches higher every second or third year, and then the problem of flooding. So all this would never be there in our buildings. The third is in terms of design. It's a very Coimbatore thing, or a very South Indian thing, that people like privacy in their homes. More than seeing a vast house, they like privacy in their houses. The separation of the living and dining. The ladies would like to have their own privacy. The bedrooms leading from the living to the, from the dining to the bedroom. And these are all very Coimbatore centric, and these could be available only in bungalows. You see most of the apartment plans all over India. You would see, you enter, there is a living and dining, huge living and dining, there's a passage, and then there are 2 or 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms. This you would not find mostly in our projects. Another thing is ventilation. We see that there are at least 2 sides of ventilation to every apartment, and there are no dividing or common walls. So all this entails a cost. So when these costs are there, you cannot cater to a certain segment. But today, there are technologies, which are new technologies which are coming in, and they are being tried and tested, which have brought down the cost of construction, especially at the lower level. So these things we would be adopting, and we would be establishing these in our practices. The next thing is business ethics. Like I told you, in our finance business, the rate of interest that we charge had to be reasonable. There should be transparency in every document that you do. Transparency in our construction agreements, like there is no escalation clause. Whatever be the increase or the inflation in the market, whatever it be, there is no escalation clause in our agreement. Further, there are no hidden charges. Every charge or everything that is mentioned in our agreement. The third thing is the areas. Unlike many North Indian builders, where the area of an apartment is immeasurable. Here, in an area, customer is given an area statement where room sizes, everything is mentioned, totaled up, and a total area is given. That has been our practice. So these things instill confidence in a customer. Customer would be willing to come forward and purchase apartments. The trust is established when you have such transparency. Another thing is, our business is very, very dependent on the legality of the documents. One small mistake and a property can be stuck for 20 years in litigation. So if this litigation is passed on to a customer, it is an extremely unfortunate that a customer has to suffer when such legalities or such mistakes are committed by builders. The other this thing is our companies. We encourage ourselves to go for credit ratings. We are the only Coimbatore-based builder who has got a 5-star CRISIL credit rating for our project. And we were the only builder from Coimbatore to have the 5-star rating. I'm only builder operating in Coimbatore to have a 5-star rating for our projects. There was no other builder in Coimbatore. And 2 of our projects, Srivari Ananya and Srivari Vaibhav, were selected among the top 100 projects in our country by Reality Plus magazine. It's a reality magazine. So what does a customer look for when they are purchasing an apartment? It is, and we also believe in our real estate industry, it is location, location, and location. These are the 3 important things in real estate. Location entails the establishment of infrastructure in that area. See, we are a developing country, and we do not have infrastructure in every nook and corner or as we desire. So wherever there is infrastructure available is where we strive to build. Like for example, in Coimbatore itself, you go beyond Kalapatti. There is almost no infrastructure, but there are buildings coming up over there. It is at the end of the day, the customer, it's because of the price he or she might buy over there, but at the end of the day, they do not have or cannot enjoy the facilities that have been provided because there is lack of infrastructure, right from electricity to water, and these are the basics. And so we have confined ourselves to build in Vellakuchi Road or among the main roads where there are commutation becomes easy, you're closer to your offices and closer to work. So these are some of the in terms of location wise, we try to be in the best of locations for being customer centric. The other thing in terms of there is a new act that many of you may be aware of. It's called the Real Estate Regulatory Act, which is called the RERA Act in short. Now, there are so many legal formalities or legal things in this Real Estate Regulatory Act. We were in a way happy that this act is coming because these things were already followed by us. All the things which are mentioned in the act are followed. For example, you cannot market a product. You cannot even forget selling. You cannot even market a product before you have your approvals in place. So we, as a matter of principle, we always did that, get our approvals in place and only then try and market a product or sell a product. And in this way, the customer knows exactly what he or she is getting from an apartment. The plans are all established, the plans are all drawn, we can circulate those plans. We cannot get an approval different from the plans that we have circulated because they are all pre-approved. And this is the main thing what RERA prescribes, the Real Estate Regulatory Act. Then it also prescribes on completion dates. The the building has to be completed within the time frame mentioned in our contract or the time frame mentioned in our approval. So the customer again, and today there are penalties on taking a product, delaying a product. So in this way, we have been already following it, and the RERA has now brought it as a law. How do we take the brand forward? It's a customer buying experience. We always give for example, our brochures, our plans, they're all quite transparent, and the fittings that we use, all these, every specification is mentioned in our brochure, so the customer is well informed. And to take it further, we now have walkthroughs where the customer can see and visualize what he or she is exactly getting. And from the walkthrough, now we have come into building model villas or model apartments, where again a customer can exactly visualize, walking through the apartment, what he or she is exactly getting. Another thing is we have extremely good consultants. There are so many needed in the field of in our construction, right from an architect, a structural engineer, and then we have landscape engineers, then we have MEPs. So all these consultants are very well established firms. They are very professional. Their inputs are professional. So in this way, our building is, when a building is completed, there is no trouble. Again, selling is much easier. Service is a very, very expensive affair. So rather sell a product which is good ab initio rather than service the product later, which we do service, but still it is much, much more expensive. Believe me, when you service a product, it is easier to sell than to service. Another thing is innovation in our planning. Like for example, we have started a project here. They are just independent houses, small independent houses, and we have given elevators in every house. this is not as a factor of luxury, but it is a factor of, in a joint family, there are elders living in an apartment, in a building or in a villa. We would like the elders to go travel up and up to the second floor or first floor, wherever the house ends. We would like them to use the house fully, which the elders are unfortunately unable to do. And most important of all, we wouldn't be here without the care that we have given to our employees. Our employees are the ones who have brought us to where we are. And I'm indeed proud to state that in our industry, we have among the lowest rates of attrition. In fact, one of our employees just retired last year, working with us since 1969. A lot of our employees are there since 1982, 85, and all of them, the employee retention is extremely important at the end of the day to give a good product, quality product and a good product. Taking the brand further, how do we get the brand further? We participate in exhibitions in various countries. And today there is a medium of digital marketing where our brand is being known in places as far as US, Europe, the Middle East, Southeast Asia. We have purchasers even from China and Kazakhstan, with customers from China, Japan and Kazakhstan because of digital marketing. One of the key factors on building, establishing and being a brand presence. And it's sheer hard work that your brand can be present and your brand can be sustained. And its most important thing is sustaining and taking the brand forward. These few words, I'd like to thank CMA again for giving us the honor for being here. Thank you.